So Ruth, we are going to be chatting today about this name that Jesus got. One of the names Jesus was given many years before he was born in the book of Isaiah. And we are going to be talking about the name Mighty God. But before we do so, Ruth, people who talk to you at church will very quickly notice that you are not from the UK. Tell us where you're from.
I grew up in South Africa, but I've been living here in the UK for about 9 years.
Great. And you are a Christian. When did you become a Christian? When did you put your faith in Jesus?
I grew up in a Christian home, so always been to church. But I would say my faith really became my own probably in my mid-20s.
Great. Wonderful. So like yesterday then, yeah?
Yeah, not quite.
Okay. Ruth, you told me a few weeks ago a story about how you know God as your mighty God. Tell me one thing though. Why are we sitting on this freezing cold morning in a broken down car with no heating? That has a link to your story.
Yes.
Tell me about it.
Yes. So this story is about this little car. His name's Louis. And it was a couple of months ago now. I was on my way home late on a Sunday night. Mm-hmm. And I was just merging back onto the M25 after stopping at the Cobham services.
Yeah.
And Louis lurched and then promptly died completely. Thankfully, I'd managed to get onto the hard shoulder. So I climbed out my car and went and stood behind the barrier. And then as all the cars and trucks were like thundering past, I was shaking and crying. It was really scary.
Terrifying, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I phoned my boyfriend Sasha and he started praying. And then I phoned the RAC. And while I was on the phone to the RAC, just like answering their thousands of questions and giving them my details, they said a van would be with me in like about an hour. Mm-hmm. But while I was still on the phone talking to the controller, an RAC van pulled up in front of me. And asked if I was all right, which I clearly wasn't. So I handed my phone to this RAC van man. He spoke to the controller, and next thing I knew, he had taken the job and was loading up Louis on his tow truck. And
so this was late on a Sunday evening, when you would not expect anyone to be around.
Yeah. It was about like 11 o'clock at night by this time. I then got in his car and he asked me like where I was going. I said I'm on my way home to South Croydon, and he said, oh well, that's convenient, I live in Coulsdon. Wow. And it's nearly the end of my shift, so I'll just take you all the way home. Yeah. So he towed me all the way, parked Louis right here, he's not moved since, and didn't charge me anything extra. And yeah, the whole thing was just amazing. He basically he had driven past on his way to another job that then got cancelled, and on his way to that job he saw me on the side of the road, and then when it got cancelled he was on his way back again, saw me still there, so he came just to check if someone was coming for me. And yeah, the whole situation could have just been so much worse in so many ways. But it just showed that the God we serve really is a mighty God, and he's attentive to all the details in our life.
Yes, absolutely. And I have to say, Ruth, I know there are many more details to that story that are also amazing in how God was clearly looking after you and answering prayers that evening. Thank you for talking to us.
Thanks.
Let's get warm.